All right, let's talk about why we buy things. I mean, really get into it. We're going to decode the hidden forces that guide pretty much every purchase you make. Yeah, from your morning coffee to that new smartphone you've been eyeing, we're going to find out what's actually driving those decisions.
No, seriously, just for a second, think about it. Why that specific brand? Why'd you go to that store? You probably figured, hey, it was a simple choice. But behind that so-called simple decision, there's this incredibly complex web of psychology, a web that marketers have spent billions, literally billions, trying to master.
Okay, so let's dive right in. To really get a grip on why we buy, we've got to look inside our own minds, right? Inside the consumer's mind. And marketers, well, they have a name for this mysterious place. They call it the buyer's black box. And this model, it's pretty simple, but it applies to almost every single purchase. So it all starts with a stimulus, maybe an ad you see, a recommendation from a friend, or a big sale. And it ends with a response. That's you, buying the thing. But the real magic, the part we really need to unpack, is what happens in between. What goes on inside that mysterious black box.
So what is this black box anyway? Well, it's basically you. It's all of your unique characteristics, right? Your thought processes, your attitudes, your motivations. Think of it like a mental engine that takes all those outside signals and somehow transforms them into that final decision to click add to cart. So, okay, if this black box is the key to everything, then the next logical question has to be, what's inside it? What are the actual gears and levers in there that make you, me, all of us tick as consumers? Well, it turns out these influences pretty much fall into three key buckets. Let's take an example, like buying a new pair of running shoes. First, you've got the individual stuff, your age, your income, your lifestyle, right? Then there's the social side of things. Maybe you're influenced by a running club you're in or what your friends are wearing. And finally, there's the psychological part. You might just be motivated by a deep desire to get fit. It's the unique mix of all three of those things that ultimately determines whether you walk out of the store with a pair of Nikes or a New Balance. But here's the thing, right? We don't fire up that whole complex mental engine for every single purchase. I mean, buying a house is just a little different than buying a bag of salt, isn't it? The amount of effort you put in changes a lot. And this slide, it shows the two extremes perfectly. On one side, you've got these high involvement decisions. Think buying a car or a house. You do your homework, you research, you compare, you really think it through. That's what we call complex buying behavior. But on the other side, it's a low involvement purchase, like buying salt. You're not reading reviews for salt, are you? No, you just grab the brand you always get. That's habitual buying, and it's basically just a mental shortcut to save some brain power. And of course, there's a whole lot of stuff in the middle, right? Think about buying a carpet or a rug. It's not as intense as buying a car, but you still care about the decision. Or how about the snack aisle? Sometimes you just grab a new kind of chip just for the heck of it, for some variety. The main thing to remember here is that how much we engage our brains is super flexible. It all depends on what we're buying. Okay, so we've established that every single one of us is this unique, complex individual, a walking, talking black box. So let's flip the script for a second. If you're a business, how on earth do you market to millions of these individual black boxes all at the same time? Well, the short answer is you don't. You just can't create a custom-tailored message for every single person out there. It'd be impossible, right? So the very first step for any smart company is to just accept that they can't be everything to everyone. They've got to narrow their focus. And this brings us to the first major tool in the marketing playbook, market segmentation. Really, it's just the art of taking that giant, messy, chaotic market and carving it up into smaller, much more manageable groups of people who seem to share similar needs or characteristics. So, imagine the entire market is just one giant pie. Marketers can slice this pie in a few key ways. They can do it geographically, by country or city. They can do it demographically, that's things like age or income. They can slice it psychographically, think outdoorsy adventurers versus cozy homebodies. And they can slice it behaviorally by, say, grouping together all of their most loyal, repeat customers. So once you've sliced up the pie, you can't eat it all. You have to decide which slice you're actually going to serve. A company will look at each of those segments and pick the one or maybe a couple of them that make the most sense for their brand to go after. And that's called target marketing. But just choosing your target audience, that's not enough. Not even close. Now comes the hard part.
You have to convince those people that you are the right choice for them. You need to find the perfect spot, not on the shelf, but in their minds.
And that brings us to the final and I'd say most critical step, positioning. Now, this is so important. This isn't about where a product sits on a physical shelf in a store. No, it's about the real estate it occupies in your customer's mind, especially when compared to all the other choices they have. And this here is a classic tool that businesses use to figure this all out. It's called a positioning map. What they do is they chart all the competition based on two key things, like price and quality. So are you a budget brand down here or a luxury brand up there? The whole goal is to find a clear, open space on the map. That opportunity spot, for instance, high quality at a low price, that is a very desirable place to be. And you for sure want to stay out of that avoid zone. So once a company figures out its position, its entire mission becomes about communicating that idea over and over again. And this is where all the marketing that we see every day comes into play. Every single ad, every social media post, every piece of content you see, it is all meticulously designed to reinforce that one single idea in your mind.
And that brings everything full circle. You see, that ad you just scrolled past on your phone a minute ago, it wasn't random. Not at all. It was the final, calculated step in a very deep strategy. A strategy that started with a company trying to understand that buyer's black box that's ticking away inside your mind.
And all this leaves us with a pretty provocative thought for the future, doesn't it? As technology like, say, artificial intelligence gets better and better at understanding our behavior, at predicting our needs, who's really in control of your next purchase? Is it you? Or is it the algorithm that might just know you better than you know yourself? Definitely something to think about.